The desolate red sands of Proxima stretched endlessly before Sergeant Ethan Reed as he trudged across the alien landscape. His powered exosuit whirred softly with each step, the only sound besides the howling wind on this barren world. Ethan's mission was simple: scout the planet's surface for any signs of the missing research team that had gone silent 3 days ago. As he crested another sandy ridge, movement caught Ethan's eye. He dropped to one knee, bringing his pulse rifle to bear as he zoomed in with his helmet's optics. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. 3 alien figures huddled together near the entrance of a cave, their iridescent skin shimmering in the red sunlight. They were bipedal and vaguely humanoid, but with elongated limbs and large, almond-shaped eyes. Ethan had never seen their species before. One of the aliens suddenly collapsed, its companions frantically trying to help it up. Even from this distance, Ethan could see they were in distress. His soldier's instincts warred with his humanitarian impulses. These aliens could be hostile, but they clearly needed help. Decision made, Ethan stood and began making his way down the ridge, keeping his movements slow and non-threatening. As he approached, the aliens turned to face him, their large eyes widening in a mix of fear and curiosity. "Easy there," Ethan said softly, holding up his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you. Do you need help?" To his surprise, one of the aliens responded in halting English. "Help, yes. Our ship crashed. Friend is injured." Ethan nodded, his training kicking in as he assessed the situation. "I'm Sergeant Ethan Reed of the Earth Alliance. I have medical supplies in my pack. May I take a look at your injured friend?" The aliens conferred briefly in their melodic language before the speaker turned back to Ethan. "Yes, please help Nara. I am Zira and this is Vex." As Ethan approached the fallen alien, Nara, he was struck by her delicate beauty. Her skin rippled with subtle hues of blue and purple, and her large eyes were a deep, mesmerizing violet. He pushed the distracting thoughts aside, focusing on treating her injuries. His med scanner revealed several broken bones and internal bleeding. "She needs more advanced care than I can provide here," Ethan said grimly. "My ship isn't far. I can take you all to our medical facilities." Zira and Vex exchanged worried glances. "Your people will not harm us?" Zira asked hesitantly. Ethan met her gaze steadily. "You have my word. We'll get Nara the help she needs, and then we can figure out what to do next." "Deal." After a moment's hesitation, Zira nodded. "Deal." As Ethan gently lifted Nara in his arms, her eyes fluttered open briefly. Their gazes locked, and he felt an inexplicable connection form between them. Then her eyes closed once more as she slipped back into unconsciousness. With Zira and Vex following close behind, Ethan began the trek back to his ship. He knew bringing 3 unknown aliens back to the human settlement would cause an uproar, but he couldn't leave them to die on this desolate world. Whatever came next, Ethan was committed to helping these strange, beautiful creatures who had quite literally dropped into his life. As they crested the final ridge before his ship came into view, Ethan's comm crackled to life. "Sergeant Reed, report your status immediately," barked his commanding officer. Ethan took a deep breath. This was going to be interesting. "Sir, I've made first contact with an unknown alien species, requesting immediate medevac and diplomatic support." The silence that followed was deafening. Then chaos erupted over the comm as Ethan's superiors scrambled to respond to this unprecedented situation. As he helped the aliens aboard his ship, Ethan knew his life, and potentially the course of human history, had just changed forever. The sterile white corridors of Outpost Epsilon hummed with nervous energy as Ethan led Zira and Vex through the space station. Nara had been rushed to the medical bay upon their arrival, leaving the other 2 aliens wide-eyed and overwhelmed by their new surroundings. "This way," Ethan said gently, guiding them towards the temporary quarters that had been hastily prepared. He could feel the stares of the human crew members they passed, a mix of curiosity, wonder, and thinly veiled suspicion. As the door to their quarters slid open, Zira gasped softly. The room, while sparse by human standards, must have seemed luxurious compared to the harsh conditions they had endured on Proxima B. "You can rest here," Ethan explained. "There's food, water, and clean clothing. I'll check on Nora and come back with an update as soon as I can." Vex, who had remained silent since their arrival, finally spoke. "Thank you, Ethan Reed. Your kindness will not be forgotten." As Ethan turned to leave, Zira caught his arm. "Wait, there is something you should know." Her large, luminous eyes met his, filled with a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. "We are refugees. Our world was destroyed in a great war. We fled, hoping to find sanctuary." Ethan's mind raced with the implications of this revelation. He placed a reassuring hand on Zira's shoulder. "You're safe here. We'll figure this out together." Hours later, Ethan found himself in a heated debate with his superiors and the station's diplomatic team. "They're asking for asylum," Ethan argued. "We can't just turn them away." Commander Hawkins, a stern woman with steel-gray hair, frowned. "This isn't a simple refugee situation, Sergeant. We're talking about first contact with an entirely new species. The political ramifications alone." "With all due respect, Commander," Ethan interrupted, "these are people in need. Whatever else they may be, they deserve our help." Before Hawkins could respond, Dr. Amelia Chen, the chief medical officer, entered the room. "Nora is stable," she reported, "but there's something you all need to see." The team followed Dr. Chen to the medical bay, where holographic displays showed detailed scans of Nora's physiology. "Their genetic structure is remarkable," Dr. Chen explained, her voice filled with barely contained excitement. "They possess an unparalleled ability to adapt to new environments, and their cellular regeneration capabilities are off the charts." Commander Hawkins' eyes narrowed. "Are you saying they could be valuable?" Ethan bristled at the implication. "They're not lab rats, Commander. They're intelligent beings seeking our help." As if on cue, Nora stirred on the medical bed. Her violet eyes fluttered open, immediately locking onto Ethan. A smile curved her delicate lips. "You saved me," she said softly. Ethan moved to her side, acutely aware of the others watching their interaction. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Better, thanks to you and your people." Nora's gaze swept across the room, taking in the unfamiliar faces and technology. "Where are Zira and Vex?" "They're safe," Ethan assured her, resting in temporary quarters. Commander Hawkins stepped forward, her posture stiff. "I am Commander Hawkins. Welcome to Outpost Epsilon. We have many questions for you and your companions." Nora's expression became guarded. "Of course. We will answer what we can. But first, I must know, will you grant us sanctuary?" The tension in the room was palpable as all eyes turned to Commander Hawkins. After a long moment, she nodded curtly. "For now, you may stay. But your presence here must remain confidential until we can determine the best course of action." As the others filed out of the medical bay to begin preparations, Ethan lingered behind. Nora reached out, grasping his hand. "Thank you, Ethan Reed. You have given us hope when we thought all was lost." Ethan squeezed her hand gently, ignoring the strange flutter in his chest. "Get some rest. I'll bring Zira and Vex to see you soon." As he left the medical bay, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that his life and the future of human-alien relations had just become infinitely more complicated. But looking back at Nora's serene face, he knew he wouldn't have it any other way. Weeks passed, and the presence of the alien refugees on Outpost Epsilon could no longer be kept secret. News of their arrival spread like wildfire through the station, then to Earth and its colonies. The reaction was mixed. Some humans welcomed the opportunity for interstellar cooperation, while others feared the unknown and demanded the aliens be quarantined or expelled. Ethan found himself caught in the middle, acting as both protector and liaison for Nora, Zira, and Vex. He watched with pride as they adapted to life on the station, learning human customs and sharing their own rich culture in return. But he also saw the toll the constant scrutiny and suspicion took on them. One evening, as Ethan was escorting Mara back to her quarters after another round of diplomatic meetings, she suddenly stumbled. He caught her arm, steadying her. "Are you all right?" he asked, concern etched on his face. Nara nodded wearily. "Just tired. These negotiations are draining." Ethan frowned. He had noticed dark circles forming under her violet eyes, her normally vibrant skin losing some of its luster. "Maybe we should have Dr. Chen take another look at you." "No," Nara said firmly. "I'm fine. We can't show any weakness now, not when so much is at stake." As they reached her quarters, Nara paused at the door. "Ethan," she said softly, "there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have said from the beginning." But before she could continue, alarms blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights bathed the corridor in an eerie glow. "Attention all personnel," Commander Hawkins's voice rang out over the intercom. "We have detected an unidentified vessel approaching at high speed. All non-essential crew to emergency shelters, security teams to your stations." Ethan's training kicked in immediately. "I have to go," he told Nara. "Stay here, you'll be safe." Nara grabbed his arm, her eyes wide with fear. "Ethan, wait. That ship, it might be." But Ethan was already sprinting down the corridor, his mind racing. As he reached the command center, he found it in chaos. Tactical displays showed a sleek, alien vessel unlike anything in Earth's database rapidly closing in on the station. "Report," Ethan barked, falling into his role as head of station security. Lieutenant Rodriguez, a young officer with a shock of red hair, responded breathlessly. "Sir, the vessel isn't responding to hails. Its weapon systems are powered up, but they haven't fired, yet." Commander Hawkins turned to Ethan, her face grim. "Your alien friends better have some answers, Sergeant, because if that ship opens fire, I'm holding them responsible." Ethan's stomach churned with conflicting emotions, duty to his station and growing feelings for Nara warring within him. "Let me talk to them," he pleaded. "There has to be an explanation." But before Hawkins could respond, the main view screen flickered to life. A face appeared, alien, yet eerily similar to Nora's species. But where Nora's features were soft and kind, this being's was sharp and cruel. "Greetings, humans," the alien said, its voice dripping with disdain. "I am Supreme Commander Xalax of the Zarkresh Empire. You are harboring fugitives that belong to us. Return them immediately, or face annihilation." The command center fell silent, all eyes turning to Ethan. In that moment, he realized the true complexity of the situation he had unwittingly drawn them into. Nora and her companions weren't just refugees. They were at the center of an interstellar conflict that now threatened to engulf humanity. As Ethan struggled to find the right words to somehow defuse his powder keg before it exploded, he caught movement on one of the security feeds. Nora, Zira, and Vex were making their way towards the command center, determination etched on their faces. Whatever came next, Ethan knew that the fate of two species, human and alien, now hung in the balance, and he was right in the middle of it all. The tension in the command center was palpable as Nora, Zira, and Vex entered. All eyes darted between the aliens and the menacing image of Supreme Commander Xalax on the main view screen. Nara stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear evident in her eyes. "Supreme Commander, we claim asylum with the humans. Your jurisdiction does not extend here." Xalax's face contorted with rage. "You dare defy the Empire. These primitives cannot protect you." Commander Hawkins, her patience wearing thin, interjected. "I don't know what quarrel you have with these individuals, but they are under our protection now. Stand down your weapons, and we can discuss this diplomatically." A cruel smile spread across Xalax's face. "Diplomacy is for the weak. You have 1 hour to surrender the fugitives, or we will reduce your station to atoms." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Ethan turned to Nara, his voice low and urgent. "You need to tell us everything, now." Nara exchanged glances with Zira and Vex before nodding sullenly. "We are not mere refugees," she began. "We are members of a resistance movement against the Zarkresh Empire. They have conquered countless worlds, enslaving entire species. We stole vital intelligence that could bring down their regime." Commander Hawkins' eyes narrowed. "So you brought an interstellar war to our doorstep." "We had no choice," Vex interjected. "Your world was the only hope we had of escaping their grasp." As the implications sank in, Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice cut through the tension. "Sir, we're detecting multiple smaller craft launching from the Zarkresh ship. They'll breach our defenses in minutes." Ethan's mind raced. They were outgunned and outmanned, but he refused to give up. "Commander, we need to evacuate non-essential personnel to the escape pods. I'll lead a team to hold off the invaders." Hawkins nodded grimly. "Do it. I'll coordinate with Earth Command for reinforcements, but we're on our own for now." As alarms blared and crew members scrambled to their stations, Ethan turned to Nara and her companions. "I know you're not soldiers, but we could use your help. Your knowledge of Zarkresh tactics could give us an edge." Nara's violet eyes met his, filled with determination. "We will fight beside you, Ethan. It's time we stopped running." The next hour was a blur of frantic preparation and tense waiting. Ethan coordinated with his security teams, setting up choke points and fortifying key areas of the station. Nara, Zira, and Vex provided invaluable insights into Zarkresh weaponry and combat strategies. When the first explosion rocked the station, Ethan knew the battle had begun. He led a team to defend the main airlock, pulse rifle at the ready. The sound of plasma fire and screams echoed through the corridors as Zarkresh troops poured in. Ethan's world narrowed to the sights of his rifle and the enemies before him. He moved on instinct, years of training kicking in as he called out orders and picked off invaders with precision shots. Beside him, Nara wielded a captured Zarkresh weapon with surprising skill. For a moment, it seemed they might hold the line, but then a massive armored figure stepped through the smoke, a Zarkresh elite warrior, its heavy cannon already charging. "Ethan, look out!" Nara cried, shoving him aside just as the cannon fired. The blast caught her in the side, sending her sprawling. "Nara." Ethan's heart clenched as he saw her crumpled form. Rage and fear fueled him as he emptied his rifle into the elite warrior, finally bringing it down. As he knelt beside Nara, cradling her in his arms, her eyes fluttered open. "Did we win?" she asked weakly. Ethan managed a grim smile. "Not yet, but we're not done fighting." Suddenly, the station shuddered violently. Ethan's comm crackled to life with Commander Hawkins' voice. "Read, multiple hull breaches. We can't hold them off much longer." As Ethan looked down at Nara's pale face, he knew they were out of options. It was time for a desperate gamble. "Commander," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "I have a plan, but you're not going to like it." Ethan's plan was as daring as it was dangerous. With Nara injured but stable, he gathered Zira and Vex for a hasty briefing. "We're going to infiltrate the Zarkresh command ship," he explained, his voice low and urgent. "If we can access their main computer, we might be able to use the intel you stole to turn the tide." Zira's eyes widened. "That's suicide. Their security will be impenetrable." "Not if we have help from the inside," Ethan countered, turning to Vex. "You mentioned there were other resistance members within the Zarkresh ranks, right?" Vex nodded slowly, realization dawning. "Yes, but contacting them would be extremely risky." "It's a risk we have to take," Ethan said firmly. "It's our only shot at saving both our peoples." As they finalized the details of their desperate plan, Commander Hawkins' voice crackled over the comm. "Whatever you're planning, Reed, make it fast. We can't hold out much longer." Ethan took a deep breath, looking at each of his alien companions in turn. Ready. Their determined nods were all the answer he needed. Using a combination of Ethan's tactical expertise and the aliens' knowledge of Zarkresh systems, they managed to commandeer a small enemy shuttle during the chaos of the ongoing battle. As they approached the massive Zarkresh command ship, Ethan's heart raced. Everything hinged on this moment. "Incoming shuttle, identify yourself," a gruff voice demanded over the comm. Vex stepped forward, speaking in the harsh tones of the Zarkresh language. Ethan held his breath, praying the hastily constructed cover story would hold. After what felt like an eternity, the voice responded, "Proceed to docking bay 3. As they maneuvered into the cavernous docking bay, Ethan whispered, "Remember, we'll only have a few minutes before they realize something's wrong. We need to move fast." The moment they disembarked, they were surrounded by Zarkresh soldiers. Ethan's hand instinctively went to his concealed weapon, but Zira placed a calming hand on his arm. "Wait," she murmured. One of the soldiers stepped forward, removing his helmet to reveal features similar to Nora's species. "I am Kale," he said quietly. "We received your coded message. The resistance stands ready." Ethan exhaled in relief. Their gamble had paid off. What followed was a whirlwind of covert action. With Kale and his resistance fighters providing cover and access, they raced through the bowels of the Zarkresh ship. Alarms blared and weapons fire echoed through the corridors as loyalist forces caught wind of their presence. Finally, they reached the main computer core. As Vex worked feverishly to upload the stolen intelligence and sabotage the ship's systems, Ethan and the others fought off waves of attackers. "It's done," Vex shouted triumphantly. "Their entire network is compromised." But their victory was short-lived. Supreme Commander Xalax himself appeared, flanked by elite guards. "You meddlesome vermin," he snarled. "I'll crush you myself." What followed was a desperate battle. Ethan found himself fighting side by side with Kale and the other resistance members, human and alien, united against a common foe. The air crackled with energy weapons and the clash of advanced weaponry. In the chaos, Ethan locked eyes with Xalax. The Supreme Commander's face was contorted with hatred as he raised his weapon. Time seemed to slow as Ethan realized he wouldn't be able to dodge in time. Suddenly, a blur of motion intercepted Xalax's shot. Nora, having followed them despite her injuries, threw herself in front of Ethan. The blast caught her squarely in the chest, and she crumpled to the ground. "No." Ethan's anguished cry echoed through the chamber. Rage and grief fueled him as he charged Xalax, catching the surprised commander off guard. They grappled fiercely, crashing into control panels and sending sparks flying. With a final, desperate surge of strength, Ethan managed to turn Xalax's own weapon against him. The Zarkresh leader's eyes widened in disbelief as the energy blast tore through him. As Xalax fell, the remaining Zarkresh forces threw down their weapons. The battle was over, but at what cost? Ethan rushed to Nora's side, cradling her limp form. "Stay with me," he pleaded, tears streaming down his face. "We won. You can't leave now." Nora's eyes fluttered open, a weak smile on her lips. "Ethan," she whispered, "I'm glad I could protect you. One last time." As her eyes closed, Ethan felt a piece of his heart shatter. But even in his grief, he knew their fight was far from over. The fate of two civilizations still hung in the balance, and the hardest part was yet to come. The days following the battle were a blur of medical emergencies, frantic diplomacy, and cautious hope. Against all odds, Nara clung to life, her remarkable alien physiology fighting to repair the grievous damage she had sustained. Ethan barely left her side, his own injuries forgotten as he willed her to recover. As news of the Zarkresh Empire's defeat spread, the political landscape shifted dramatically. The intelligence Vex had uploaded exposed centuries of tyranny and oppression, sparking rebellions across Zarkresh-controlled space. The once mighty empire began to crumble from within. On Outpost Epsilon, humans and aliens worked side by side to repair the damage from the battle. The shared experience of fighting together had forged unexpected bonds, breaking down barriers of mistrust and fear. 2 weeks after the battle, Ethan sat by Nara's bedside, gently holding her hand. Dr. Chen entered, a cautious smile on her face. "Her vital signs are improving," she reported. "I think she's going to pull through." As if on cue, Nora's eyes fluttered open. "Ethan," she said weakly. Ethan's heart soared. "I'm here," he said, squeezing her hand. "You're going to be okay." Nora's gaze focused on him, a hint of her old spark returning. "Did we win?" Ethan nodded, fighting back tears of relief. "We did. Thanks to you and the others, the Zarkresh Empire is falling. But that's not important right now. You need to rest and recover." Over the next few weeks, as Nara regained her strength, the future of human-alien relations took shape. Commander Hawkins, who had once viewed the aliens with suspicion, now championed their cause in meetings with Earth's leadership. "These beings risked everything to save us," she argued passionately. "We owe them not just sanctuary, but partnership." Slowly but surely, the idea of an interspecies alliance gained traction. Humans and aliens began to see the potential in combining their knowledge and strengths. As Nara recovered, her relationship with Ethan deepened. They spent long hours talking about their respective cultures, hopes, and dreams. Despite their physical differences, they found a connection that transcended species. One evening, as they watched the stars from the station's observation deck, Nara turned to Ethan. "What happens now?" she asked softly. Ethan took her hand, marveling at how natural it felt. "Now we build something new, together." Months passed, and the former outpost Epsilon transformed into New Horizon, the first true human-alien cooperative settlement. Scientists, diplomats, and civilians from both species worked and lived side by side, learning from each other and forging a shared future. Ethan, now serving as head of security for New Horizon, stood proudly as the first joint human-alien starship prepared for launch. Beside him, Nara, now fully recovered and serving as the alien liaison officer, squeezed his hand excitedly. As the sleek vessel rose into the star-studded sky, Ethan reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this moment. What had begun as a chance encounter on a desolate planet had blossomed into a new era of interstellar cooperation and understanding. The ship disappeared into the vastness of space, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of two species united in purpose. Ethan turned to Nara, seeing his own sense of wonder reflected in her violet eyes. "Ready for our next adventure?" he asked with a grin. Nora's answering smile was radiant. "Always, as long as we're together." As they walked hand in hand back into the bustling corridors of New Horizon, Ethan knew that whatever challenges the universe held, they would face them united, human and alien, bound by love and a shared vision of a brighter future among the stars. The story of Ethan and Nara, of humanity's first steps into a larger interstellar community, would be told for generations to come. It was a testament to the power of compassion, courage, and the unbreakable bonds that can form even across the vast distances of space. As New Horizon continued to grow and thrive, it stood as a beacon of hope, a shining example of what could be achieved when different species came together in peace and understanding. The journey had been perilous, but the destination was worth every hardship they had endured. And so, a new chapter in the history of both humanity and their alien allies began, one of exploration, discovery, and limitless possibility. The stars, once cold and distant, now beckoned with the promise of new worlds, new civilizations, and new adventures waiting to be shared.